All right, guys, how are we going? Welcome to the Liam Wilson Oscar Valdez review. We're coming to you live from Glendale, Arizona, and obviously it was a disappointing result. Oscar Valdez with a stoppage win over Liam Wilson to win the vacant WBO 130-pound title. Look, it's a little bit hard to digest at the moment. It's a little bit difficult when you watch it live compared to on the TV. I haven't seen any replays. I haven't seen really anything. I haven't even checked social media. I've literally come in the door and turned on this stream. So I'll wait a few of you guys to come on and have a chat about it. But I suppose just a quick overview. Look, I thought Liam Wilson started well the first two rounds. I thought he fought the way he should have fought. I thought, while being aggressive, I thought that he was fighting smart. He was picking his shots. He wasn't rushing in. And I think he had Valdez on the back foot a little bit. I know Valdez is typical his style. He was just sort of waiting. He sort of like a lot of Mexican fighters. It takes a while for them to sort of go through the gears of the fight, and I thought he started that way. And Liam, I thought, had the better of the first two rounds. But geez, once Valdez started to plant his feet and let the bombs go, it was sort of the beginning of the end, wasn't it? But look, I'm sure a lot of you guys out there will have the similar, or have your own feedback. There's Glenn in the chat. How you going there, Glenn? Afternoon to you too. I'll put some comments up as we go, but just a quick comment from me, Glenn, was I was a little bit surprised, and again, it's hard when you're watching at the fight. You know, lots of the people are in your way and they're standing up, and you sort of miss. I had a ring post in the middle, so I sort of missed a little bit, except the main parts, of course, which were hard to miss. But I just thought after the second round, Liam, he just got sucked into Oscar Valdez's fight, and I don't know why, and I'm sure, again, without seeing the replay, Benny Harrington would have been saying, Liam, keep your distance, unless you guys know more than what I know. There's Andy in the chat as well. How you going, Andy? But I don't know why he got sucked into Valdez's fight and started to exchange with Valdez and just played into his hands. I mean, Oscar Valdez is a flat-footed type of fighter. As you've seen, he just likes to set himself and throw 3, 4, even 5 big, hard power punches in a row, and he can punch. And I just don't know why Liam continued, as the rounds went on, to play into his game plan or go against his own game plan. So I'm sure it'll all come out in the wash. I think Liam himself said after the fight that he's got to start using his brain a little bit more. But yeah, I was a little bit bewildered at the fight. Let's get into some questions there. What the hell was he thinking? Wins the first two rounds easily, then completely changes tactics. Yeah, well, I think he changed to southpaw. I don't know why. Look, Glenn, as I said, I've got a feeling that it's just in Liam's nature to want to fight, and unfortunately, that's just not his style. He had the height advantage, although he had the speed advantage. He had a lot of advantages going his way. In the first two rounds, he fought so good. But then when he started just to punch with Valdez, and it's the golden rule, I actually exchanged messages with Tazzy Brown as I was walking back to the hotel. And it's the golden rule, never hook with a hooker. And this is what Liam was doing. Valdez is loading up those big hooks, great body shots as well. He was bowling in the overhand rights, and Liam was trying to go with him. And look, again, it might just be one of those flaws in Liam's psyche or whatever it might be, that when he might get a bit frustrated or gets drawn into a little bit of a war, that he forgets everything that he's been shown or told or instructed and just starts going head-to-head with his opponent. So, Glenn, I don't know, mate. Your guess is as good as mine. I'm sure we'll hear all about it, though. There's Paul. How you going, Paul? Wilson fought beautifully the first two rounds. Why the hell did he fight on the inside? Seems to be the common thread here, guys. I don't know, Paul. As I said, that's the only thing I can think of, is that he just gets drawn into these things and refuses to budge. I don't know whether he's stubborn, and I don't know whether Benny Harrington was saying to him to step back and box. But the first two rounds, he did it beautifully, and all he had to do was continue on with that. I understand once the heat goes out of the action, and it settles down, and the fighters find their range and timing and rhythm. It's a different type of fight. But the first 2 rounds, I thought he was great. And then it just started to unwind a little bit after that, and he just got hit, and he's refused to go back to that game plan. So I'm sure it'll all come out in the press conference or whatever afterwards. But yeah, I'm with you, Paul. I don't know why. Why the hell did he change to southpaw? My thoughts exactly, Glenn. He had no defence in that stance, and you've heard me. If you watch this channel, you hear me say it all the time. Never change stances to what your natural stance is, because when you do it, you automatically negate yourself by 30, 40, even 50%. It's like playing football and kicking or handballing or throwing with your opposite foot or hand. It just doesn't make sense to me. And especially when it actually plays into the hands of your opponent by switching. I don't get it. I'm pretty sure, didn't he do it against Navarrete as well, I remember, before he got stopped? So, I don't know, Glenn. I'm sure they're scratching their heads at the moment, but again, I don't know why you would switch to southpaw when what you're doing is just fine. Yeah, okay, you might wear a few punches, but to then switch to southpaw and negate yourself even more, I don't know. But look, I'm sure Benny will probably be scratching his head. Look, unless that was the plan, I don't know. But I'm sure it'll all come out a bit later, mate. Andy, congratulations, Oscar and Sinicia. Bad luck, Liam and Yelcasta. What do we think of that, the Estrada and Valle fight? I thought, again, it's really hard to watch live. It was a ripping fight. These little women, I suppose, they love to throw down. And because it's 2-minute rounds, they don't have a chance to really settle into the groove of a round. So it's just pretty much let's go. And it was a great fight, really good fight. Looking at it from afar, I know it was controversial on the night. I couldn't hear any of the interviews in the ring afterwards because there was booze and everything going on. It was really loud in the arena. I thought Estrada did enough to win. I don't know what you guys thought, but I thought she just got it through. I think she won 97-93, so 7 rounds to 3. I did hear a lot of boos when the trainer of the other girl, Valle, was interviewed. Apparently, she didn't have very nice things to say about Estrada, and which is a bit petty if you ask me. But yeah, really, really good fight. The one before that wasn't overly great. What was that? Moratala, I think that's his name, and Dongina, I think that was the other guy. That wasn't overly exciting, but the women more than made up for it. And of course, Valdez Wilson was a great fight as well. Colin Spring, how you going, Colin? Just heard a comment from Liam saying that he needs to stick with one style and stop changing up. Well, he said that after the Navarrete fight, Colin. That's the problem. And it must be a frustrating thing for Benny Harrington when they plan for these things. And it's not like when Liam turned southpaw that he's had success in other fights either, I don't think. I think even in the fights that he's won when he's changed to southpaw, again, he's negated himself and probably worn some shots. I don't understand it, mate, but he needs to. This is why you have a game plan. This is why you have A, B, and C, or maybe D game plan, so that you start with A. If that tends to go off the rails, and you can go to B and then C and so on. But I thought tonight it was like plan A actually looked like it was working at the start, and then it just started to go askew, and I'm pretty sure Benny Harrington would have tried to pull him back into either plan A again or even onto plan B, but he just refused and decided to exchange with Valdez. And again, never hook with a hooker. That's what happens. So, what do we got there? There's Carl. Benny was telling him to stay on the outside, but he didn't. Well, I'm sure I had no doubt that was the case, Carl, to be honest. I would have thought that would have been the game plan, and it worked in the first 2 rounds. That's why I don't understand why he switched. Now, really, when you think about it, considering the result, Benny Harrington's probably got to have a conversation with Liam to say, okay, do you really want this? And if you do, then you either listen to me or you go somewhere else. And that would be really hard to say, but that's the hard truth I think Liam's got to hear. There's a reason that Benny Harrington's he's the trainer, he's the mentor, he's the tactician, whatever you might want to call it. So I'm sure Benny would have been very frustrated in parts of tonight's fight, but that probably needs to be the hard conversation he needs to have, that if Liam wants to be at this level, he needs to listen to his trainer and stick to the game plan. And if the game plan doesn't work, then there's B, C, and D after that to follow up, but at least you stick to the game plan. And if the game plan doesn't work, well, that's just life. But when you go away from the game plan deliberately against what your trainer's saying, yeah, it's pretty tough to win. Being live, do you think the ref stopped it too early? No knockdowns. Well, mate, it was hard to see because, well, it was hard to see because as soon as, when you're there live, and I'm sure you've been there yourself at sporting events, not just boxing, but football, whatever, when there's something exciting that happens, everyone stands up. And it's another one of my pet hates on top of the airline stuff. But soon as he started, and I had a ring post in the middle, by the way. I was only about 5 rows back, so I was seeing good. But the problem is I was on the aisle, which means I was looking straight at the ring post. And when he started to land a few, everyone went up, and I really couldn't see it, Paul. But I'll check it out on the replay. But what I did see though is Liam just wasn't responding, and I just don't think the referee had much of a choice in the end. And especially these days, this is not 20 or 30 years ago where they let you go till you're knocked out. They're pretty quick to jump in these days with what's happened with concussions and all that sort of stuff. So, and deaths, of course. But yeah, as I said, mate, I'll have to watch the fight back. But from where I was watching, it was just the volume of punches. Actually, I did see the initial punch that rocked Liam, but it was of course, then everyone stands up and the hail of punches come after that. And I must admit, initially, I thought, wow, that was a quick stoppage, but there wasn't a lot of protesting from Liam's corner. So that's probably the first, I suppose, sign that you get. I know they wouldn't have been overly happy, but look, from what I saw of Liam after the fight, I think it was okay. And as they say, you live to fight another day, don't you? All right. Yeah, he did. Yeah, thanks, Glenn. He switched for the Navarrete fight, and that's probably when he started to be hurt and stopped. So I don't know. Again, I don't know whether it is part of his game plan or he just likes to do it. But again, I don't understand why fighters do it, especially from the outside. I don't mind it on the inside because you're safe. You're not going to be as exposed as what you are from the outside. But when you turn, it's problems. It really is. Liam was catching Oscar with some nice uppercuts. He was. Look, he had some real success, Carl. He had some good success, and I thought he was doing a good job. But again, why fight to the strengths of your opponent? And as I said before, Oscar Valdez is not a fleet-footed type of fighter. He's not overly fast. He's a flat-footed fighter, and he just likes to plant his feet, and over he comes with those big hooks and right hands. And when he plants his feet and lets them go, there's nothing. Oscar Valdez doesn't try and score punches. He tries to hurt you and knock you out with every punch that he throws. Doesn't throw many jabs. He just plants his feet, waits for the time, and then throws 3, 4, 5 punches at a time. That's his style. So if you're sitting on his chest, well, of course, it's going to make it easier for him. If you're at a distance and boxing and giving him some angles, it's going to make it harder. But look, what I will say is it's a hell of a lot easier out here than in there when you've got someone like Oscar Valdez throwing bombs at you. But he did have success, Carl. He really did. Some good hooks, uppercuts. Both fighters scored some good body shots as well. I would have maybe liked to have seen Liam maybe go to the body a little bit more. But Oscar has this habit of really crouching down low. So maybe it was not part of the plan. Liam started well but ended all wrong. I think some of these chaps switch to try and confuse, but might muddle themselves. Well, that's 100%, Andy. A lot of these fighters, they switch to southpaw and end up to try and confuse their opponent, end up confusing themselves, and they get caught. And the good fighters will actually make you pay. And the classic example of that, of course, recently is Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou. Ngannou, who's just a novice as a boxer, could do it in the UFC. He turned the southpaw against Joshua and got immediately knocked down with the right hand and then pulverised after that. So, yeah, I just don't see the sense in it, Andy, that why you would switch when all it does is negate yourself and confuse yourself. But Carl, that was an exciting fight. Not a huge fan of women's boxing, but they banged it out. Yeah, they have their moments, Carl. But look, skill wise, these girls were super talented, really really classy fighters they were. Well, obviously it was the undisputed title. I'd love to know how many actual minimum weight fighters there are out there. Because what is it, 105 pound? So what's that, about 48 kilos or something? Let me work it out. 105. 47 and a half kilos. I'm just thought it was a TV, but I got people walking out there having a chat. But yeah, 47.5 kilos is not much of them. But no, I thought it was a really good fight. I thought the girls' fight was very close. Draw would have been okay. I got a feeling they'll do it again, Glenn. I think they'll do it again. And main event worthy too, if you ask me. I mean, I know Top Rank put the girls on to sort of coincide with the big men's fights, but I saw Estrada last year in Vegas. She headlined in Vegas at the Palms, and the place was packed. So Raymond Muratalla was very average to say the least. I think that's supposed to be. He's got some work to do. Yeah, I didn't think it was impressive at all, Carl. I thought the fight was boring. I'm not quite sure if his opponent's sort of abilities, but he didn't show much either. I thought Muratalla, trained by Robert Garcia, would have shown a bit more, mate. But if he's going to do anything in the sport, he needs to put those types of guys away, I think. Yocasta looked more active, but Sinisa punches were landing better. Great fight with ladies. Yeah, I agree, Andy. I was enthralled for the whole fight, mate. It was just a really, really top level, very skillful fight. So, yeah, showing the way, aren't they, the ladies? Benny needs to be more strict, needs to put his foot down, Teddy Atlas style. Yeah, well, of course I couldn't hear the corner, Paul, but maybe that's what it's going to take. Maybe that's what Benny needs to do. But look, they've been together for a long time, and Liam's had a fair bit of success with Benny, so I'm sure Benny would be very frustrated tonight as well. That because he started. And look, let's be honest. I mean, it's a 12-round fight, not a 2 or 3 round fight. So of course we get into the trenches as the fight goes on. But I just think, Ben would have been very frustrated. I think, Paul, that Liam wasn't doing what I think what would have been the game plan. So I definitely don't think the game plan would have been just to stand there and trade punches with Oscar Valdez anyway. So, but it's boxing, elite level, top level boxing, and you're always coming up against great opponents. So again, it's easier said out here than in there. Greg says, I think it was a fair stoppage. Liam wasn't defending himself. Yeah, and I think that's the thing, Greg. And that's why, as I said earlier, the fact that there was no protest from the corner, Liam was pretty, well, I won't say happy with it, but he accepted the decision, shows that it was the right call. As fans, you always like to see them go out in the shield, as they say, and everything else. But I just think he gave as much as he could. It was look, and that's probably what we're forgetting here. Okay, we've been talking about the game plan and everything else. But one thing you cannot take away from Liam Wilson is the heart that this guy has. He dug in with Valdez. Okay, it wasn't probably the smartest thing to do. We've all said that. But this guy's nothing to be ashamed of. He went over here. And I can tell you one thing, guys. The atmosphere at the fights was electric, but it was very, very hostile. I don't know what it looked like on TV, but it was a really good crowd for Good Friday. And that's the other thing here. They don't celebrate Easter like we do in Australia. Like everything was open. There was no public holiday here. Of course, everyone was at the fights. I said to the girl at the front desk, well, what happened? She said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, the thing's closed today. She said, no, it's just business as usual. And when I said to her about what it was like in Australia, she couldn't believe it. But yeah, it's just another day here in the States, which was surprising. But yeah, a very, very hostile crowd towards Liam. They gave him everything when he came into the ring. Even when he was getting interviewed after the ring, there was lots of boos and things going at Liam, which I thought was a bit unfair. That's probably a little bit un-Mexican-like for me. And the crowd was mainly Mexican tonight. And that's very un-Mexican to me from what I've seen. They admire and respect someone that gives their all, and Liam certainly did that. So I was really surprised that they booed him after the fight. I mean, Oscar Valdez is very, very popular, but I was surprised that, they booed Liam. Even getting an interview, I would have thought they would have respected him for his performance. But anyway, just while I'm going there, guys, just excuse me there. Just going to plug in... There it is. Sorry, guys. Just had to plug in my light because it'll probably die at some stage. All right. Yep, good stoppage. Liam was hurt, no doubt. Yep, stoppage was fine. Okay, well, that's good that we're sort of along the same lines as far as that goes. That we all think it was an okay stoppage. I'll get some more. Sorry, guys. All right. Are you doing a preview of Tim's fight tomorrow? Well, I could do one for sure, Robert. I'm not getting to Vegas until about lunchtime. That's if my plane goes on time, as I touch wood. Just excuse me there, guys. I'm just going to turn this light down a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so I'll get there about lunchtime, Robert. So I'll probably get to the hotel half past 12, 1 o'clock, whatever it might be. I can't check in till 3 o'clock. So I'll probably leave my bags there. But if I get a chance, I might just hop on for an hour and see what you're all thinking. Um, I think the card starts at 6. Well, it's on from 3 o'clock, but the main card starts at 6 o'clock. So yeah, if I've got time to jump on for an hour or so, Robert, I might just do that. So keep a lookout for the live. I won't pencil it in because you just don't know. But I'll definitely do a review though, Robert, like we're doing now. I'll do that after the fight. I was planning to do it out the front of T-Mobile. I'm just not sure how my data will go over there. So worst case, I'll go back to the hotel room and do it from there. But yes, I will be doing some lives tomorrow, Robert. So tune in. All right, Carl. I'm not sure if Liam has the ring IQ. He seems to switch stances and gets caught. Couldn't keep the fight long. Got in the pocket and stayed in there way too long. Yeah, well, the thing is, it's one thing to sort of get drawn into it, Carl, but then you've got to be able to snap out of it. You've got to be able to go back and reset and go again. Now, but one particular round, if you get caught up in a war and you wear a few, go back to the corner. Then of course it's sit down, relax, have your drink of water, and then reset. And let's go back to what was having some success in the first few rounds. But Liam just wasn't able to do that, unfortunately, or didn't want to do it. I don't know, but and look, he was. He had taken a lot of punches. You could see he was busted up in the face a fair bit. So maybe he was just incapable. Maybe he was a bit fatigued or hurt or whatever it might be to actually go back to that. Who knows? But yeah, it was a little bit a little bit mind-boggling looking from afar, like all you guys have noted as well. But we just don't know until we hear. I think Liam and Benny in the cold light of day explain sort of what happened in there. But as I said before, one thing you cannot take away from Liam Wilson is the heart that he showed and the performance that he put in. He left it all in there anyway, and that's all you can do. Oscar definitely throws with mustard on them shots. He certainly does, Andy. Liam wasn't throwing enough back at the time of stoppage. Liam looked a bit hesitant in letting a lot of his heavy shots go too. Well, I think a lot of that had to do with that, Andy, is that when he was in close, Liam, he can punch, but he's not a puncher, if that makes sense. We have seen him have some great knockouts, but look, in sort of reality, he's not that type of fighter. Oscar Valdez is. He loves to, dig his heels in and just let them go, and that was the difference. And I'd be hesitant too if I was every time I threw my power punches if my opponent was throwing even harder power punches. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, Ian, too strong, too smart. Well, he's a seasoned campaigner, Ian. He's been around a long time, two-time world champion, of course. So, and he was very emotional after the fight too. And I think I said earlier, I did meet Oscar about 6 or 7 years ago in LA, and he's such a lovely, lovely guy. He really is. So, in some weird way, after the fight, I was happy for him because he was very emotional in the ring as well. So good on him. I mean, of course, I was hoping that Liam would beat him, but it is what it is, and you've got to give respect where it's due. Also, not listening to his corner, isn't that basic boxing? Be able to not only listen to your corner, but be able to put the trainer's words into action. Well, yes, Carl, it's not just about having all the ability, is it? You have to be able to, like you said, listen to the corner and put it into practice. And from what I've seen of Benny Harrington too, he does try and keep it as basic as he can in the corner. So it's not like the instructions are coming at Liam and they're hard to decipher. I think from what I've seen on TV, of course I didn't hear tonight's, but to hear him in the corner, he seems matter of fact and basic, but Liam just for some reason wasn't able to put them into practice, and that's obviously an issue between boxer and trainer. The booing was very ordinary. Yeah, it was actually Tara. Yes, good call. He came out with sombrero. That's probably one thing you should never do when you're fighting a Mexican fighter, is come out in the sombrero. And we saw it, remember, years ago, Floyd Mayweather did it against Oscar De La Hoya, and others have done it as well. So, yeah, that could be it. Could be it for sure. Full props to Oscar. Seems to be a good, genuine bloke. Saw great respect between Oscar and Liam post-fight. Well, that's what you want to see, Andy, isn't it? You want to see respect between the fighters, and that was definitely there. I couldn't hear what they were saying to each other, but that's the way a fight should end. You hug, you have respect. Remember, these are just family men. This is a sport, well, sport/business, but it's nothing personal. They're warriors and they go to war. And one thing, as I said about Oscar, he's a great guy, and he would have respected the fact that Liam hung with him for as long as he could. What do you got there, Tars? Most Mexicans that I've seen don't normally find that kind of thing offensive, but perhaps walking into the ring with one on in front of a majority Mexican crowd wasn't the right call. Yeah, it's probably not, because I think what they do is they see it as a bit of a dig at them and their culture, I suppose, and you just don't do that. It's okay if Tim Tszyu had fought Keith Thurman and come out with sombrero because he was obviously dubbed the Aussie Mexican, well, that would probably be a little bit different. But when you actually come out against a Mexican in a pro-Mexican venue with a sombrero on, yeah, you're probably asking for trouble a little bit. Yes, I forgot about that, Andy. Like, subscribe, share, and smash that like button, folks. Yep. Let me have it. All right. I thought the encouraging words Oscar was giving Liam after the fight was all class. Well, he's a classy guy, Greg. He really is. Carl, was there a crowd fight or something during the Wilson Valdez fight? I heard a lot of yelling and people looking at the crowd. You know what that was, Carl? And you'll find this funny. There was actually a bit of a scuffle after the fight itself, but during the fight, and it was right where I was, there was a little security guard, and he looked like Canelo Alvarez. He had the red hair, and it was cut the same. He looked like a little miniature version of Canelo. So when the night first started, he walked past a couple of times, and a few of the crowd was, "Hey, Canelo!" And then one turned into two, two turned into four, four turned into eight. And by that stage of the fight in the main event, every time he walked past, it was just the whole crowd. There's probably 1,000 people went up cheering, "Canelo, Canelo." And the guy had no idea what was going on. He was walking past, looking at the crowd. And I actually went to the bathroom at one stage, and he was out there with another security guard. And he was saying, "I don't know, every time I walk past, they're all yelling and screaming. I don't know." And then later on, the penny dropped. Someone must have told him, and he sort of got it. He got into it a little bit. But that's what it was, Carl. It was not a fight. It was Canelo Alvarez walking past the crowd. All right, what's that there, Paul? Sorry, Paul, missed your comment. What was that one? Paul. Oscar admitted to Liam. Oh yeah, almost had him hurt with the body shot. Some good body shots being landed. Oscar is a great fighter and even better human. He told Liam and nearly had him out of there. Well, that's the honest thing about Oscar. And I didn't hear the interview because it was so loud in there and people were carrying on. But yeah, Tara said to me before that he was very respectful to Liam and said he had him hurt. So that's a sign of not just a great fighter, but a great person. I thought something was up. Well, I did too, Carl. Normally, and you've obviously been to the football or boxing, whatever it might be, and when the crowd goes up, everyone sort of looks and what's happening. Well, that was it. So, little Canelo. What's that, Andy? Sorry for me laughing, but I think I saw the sombrero comment when we were talking about Liam losing. All good, mate. No stress. I'm not sure if I've missed a couple of comments there. Keep them coming anyway, guys. We'll keep going for another 15 or 20 minutes anyway. But yeah, I thought that. Look, I just think for Liam, I'm sure the question's going to come up. What's next for Liam? I've had a couple of text messages from people as I was walking home. What's next for Liam? I don't know, to be honest. I think, he needs some time off. He's had some really hard fights lately. As I said today in the live, I don't think it'll be the end of Liam. I think it was he went out on his shield. He put on a great fight, but he's just, in my opinion, him and Benny first need to have a good talk about if he wants to continue at this level, and if he does, then he needs to listen, and he needs to stick to the game plan, listen in between rounds. Don't get sucked into fighting with these guys. He sort of did it with Navarrete as well. That was sort of expected, or whatever, because he'd knocked Navarrete down, so you could probably not blame him for trying to get him out of there. But if it was the case tonight, if Benny Harrington was telling him the game plan and he didn't stick to it, well, that's probably the first step for me. And if they get over that hurdle, I think it's probably petitioning for a few more fights in the States, maybe on some undercards or whatever it might be. Get 2 or 3 wins under the belt and just go again. I've said it all along. You're only as good as your last fight. And if he gets another couple of wins under his belt, looks good, then all of a sudden, who knows what could happen for him. But I think he needs to work on some issues with his technique and everything else. I would definitely beat the southpaw thing out of him if I was Benny Harrington and say never, ever, ever switch to southpaw. Look, they've got to have some hard conversations, I think. But I don't think it's the end of Liam Wilson, but he needs to tweak some things if he's going to compete at world level. And that's just the way it is. Colin, what's that, mate? Really enjoyed the travelogue on your first post on the trip. Many thanks for posting, just like being on a road trip minus the cost. All good, mate. Well, I'll do another one. I'm not sure I'll get a chance tonight over here. It's about 20 past 11. I've got to organise to go early in the morning, but if not, I'll post it tomorrow. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that, mate. This one will just be a fight day video, so it won't be what the first episode was. It'll just be purely today's fight, and then tomorrow I'll do the same thing with Tim Tszyu. But no, I appreciate that you like him, mate, and hopefully it gives a little, as I said today, a little bit of an insight into what happens on these trips. Canelo, the security guard, he did look like him, Andy. I didn't really know what was going on, to be honest. I seen him walk past a few times. I was thinking, what are they? And then I listened, and they're like, Canelo, Canelo. And then, of course, the penny dropped. So, but yeah, it was pretty funny. Mate, I missed the Richard Torres Jr. fight, first round stoppage, I believe. Didn't see it, Carl. I was too busy on here. Didn't realise that the card started so early. I got there and I was only there for 3 fights. I saw the Moratalla, whatever his name is, fight, and then the women, and then Liam. That's all I saw. So I didn't actually see it, mate, because I thought being on here, I thought at 6 o'clock I might have 5, maybe 6 fights I might be able to see. But as I said, I got there at about 6:30 because my Uber I was going to call an Uber. I was only about 17, 18 minutes from the venue to walk, and I thought, I'll just get an Uber, whatever. 25-minute wait, so I said, stuff it and just walk. So the time I got there, it was probably close to 6:30, and I just saw the last 3 fights, mate, so apologies, I didn't see Richard Torres get his win, and I'm not sure what the result was either, sorry. Yeah, totally agree. Back to the drawing board. Yeah, look, sometimes, as much as we like our fighters, you have to look at the facts, and I think tonight showed that Liam just has to go back to the drawing board and work on some things, and that could be a variety of different things, but to compete at this level, and I got a feeling just by the way he sort of spoke afterwards, I can only hear bits and pieces of him speaking, I just think he would sort of know some of the things, but he's got to be able to make those adjustments, or the same thing's going to happen over and over and over again at this level. You can get away with a lot of things at domestic level or shallow international waters, I suppose. But once you get into the deep international waters, it's a whole different ball game, and they'll make you pay, which we saw tonight. So I've got full respect for Liam. Don't get me wrong, but as I said, he's going to have to work on some things if he's going to be a contender going forward. So that Colin Liam post-fight interview said he'd take a few weeks off, go back to the gym and work out what style he will stick with. Yes, he said he needs to work on some weaknesses. Well, that's probably the first thing, isn't it, Colin? To admit that you need to work on some stuff. So a lot of stubborn fighters out there, or stubborn cornermen, whatever, think they know it all. That's the first step right there. He said he's got some weaknesses. He needs to work out what works for him, and he has to stick with it. Because sometimes the Liam Wilson I've seen sort of domestically differs a bit from the Liam Wilson we see at international level. And that's obviously for a reason. The caliber of opponents are a lot higher. But maybe he needs to stick to the domestic style and just polish it up a little bit and improve a few little bits and pieces. And who knows, that version of Liam Wilson might be able to compete a little bit better at that real top level. But that's, again, a conversation Liam and Benny are going to have. Yeah, I turned it on after you were live and we missed heaps of fights. Yeah, sorry, Carl. Apologies about that, mate. Well, you would have got 4 fights, I think. So I've missed the first fight when I'm walking to the venue, which is the first televised fight. But yeah, there was when it starts at 3 o'clock. It's a big day, isn't it? It's the same tomorrow at the T-Mobile. I think there's 10 fights on that card as well. So, and I'm not getting there till probably about 6 o'clock. I'm only interested in the main fight. So there's 5 title fights, isn't there? So I want to see all of them, or at least 4 of them anyway. So is the order? I'm assuming it's the Brian Mendoza Boacek fight, then Zarafa Lara, and then Cruz Romero, and then Tim Fundora. So they're really the only 4 fights I'm really keen on watching. I think I said today, back in the day, I'd get there right when the doors open and watch every single fight. I've sort of gone away a little bit from that now. Must be my age, but yeah, the patience is not there like it used to. And I'll just be there for the 4 main fights. And the thing is, I'm staying at the Park MGM, which is right next door to the T-Mobile. I can literally walk out the front doors or the side doors of the Park MGM in the foyer, cross the road, and I'm in the T-Mobile Arena Plaza. So that's how close I am. So the year before when I stayed there for Canelo and Triple G, I was just overlooking the plaza of T-Mobile. It was awesome. Literally a 2-minute walk once you get out the doors. Might need a bit of the KISS theory, keep it simple, stupid. Well, that's not silly, mate. I think that's 100% right. That's the thing. Maybe it's just being, using a good or developing a good jab, that right hand, left hook to the head, left hook to the body, and just being nice and tight and keeping the distance, keeping the range, not really getting involved or exchanging until the second half of the fight. So I don't think it's rocket science, to be honest, Carl. I think the tweaks that he needs to make might, like you said there, might just be a simple little tweak here and there, and we might have a totally different Liam Wilson. But I'll stick by what I said. He needs to make some tweaks if he's going to have another crack at it, because the current version of Liam Wilson is, at this stage, I hate to say it, probably not at the level to win a world title. So I'm sure they're already in the hotel at the moment, mate, looking at what went wrong and what they've got to do, and he'll take a few weeks off. I'm not sure whether he's going to do the Tim Tszyu fight. I'm assuming he will. It's only an hour's flight away, so I'm sure he will. But some hard conversations have to be made. But you are right, some simple tweaks, and who knows. Andy, hopefully Liam takes a good break to rest and can climb again and fight for another title ASAP. Yeah, well, I think it might take him a little while to get another shot, Andy. I think, I was going to say title shots don't come around very often, but these days they come around a lot more often than they used to, don't they, with so many different variants. So, but look, I like the attitude of Liam. And let's face it, he's only 28. And I think we're going to look at this like they do with the UFC. A loss is not the end of your career. We all think that if someone loses a fight, especially a big fight like this, that's it. It's all over. Liam Wilson might get another fight next against a top 10 or 12 or 15 ranked opponent. All of a sudden, he's back in the conversation. There might be another contender out there that wants an opponent like Liam to propel them to a world title shot, and all of a sudden, he's back in the mix. So things can happen very, very quickly. One thing he has got is No Limit on his side, and No Limit now has some very, very good contacts in the sport. They've worked hard to get that, by the way. So who knows? We might see him back sooner than we think. But I would think for him, I would probably take a few months off and not fight again for 6 months, and then maybe string 2 or 3 fights together pretty quick and just see where you're at. But as I said, he's 28 years of age. It's certainly not over. We have to get away from the UFC mentality that if you take a loss, then that's it. The UFC has shown lots of those fighters had multiple losses, been knocked out and everything else. They get another opportunity and they take it, and it's a whole different ball game. What have we got there? Carl, the thing in Liam's favour is he's proved he can hang with world champions. He needs to get his head around his style. Yep, well, that's one way of looking at it, Carl. It's a positive to look at. Yep, definitely 100%. That is a positive to look at rather than say, I got beat again. He's had Navarrete on the floor. He went toe-to-toe with Valdez, had success. Yes, he got stopped in the end, but I think they've got a bit to work with. But as I said, they need to make some adjustments and tweaks and changes and everything else if they're going to compete or have an opportunity to compete, not just compete at the level, but win at the level. Tim is super popular now. Appears many non-Australians love his throwback fighter attitude. Yeah, he seems to have got himself a bit of a posse in Vegas now, doesn't he? So, look, I think, as I said today, I think he is loving being in the environment that he's in. He's finally, in that big Las Vegas fight. He's now the A side. He was the B side, and his whole sort of outlook changed once he went to the A side, and hopefully he can back it up tomorrow. And all of a sudden, he's going to be one of the most sort of talked about fighters in the world, and is Crawford next after that. All right, Tazi, what do you got to say there? The one good thing about Liam was that he admitted his faults. He knew his corner was right, and it was him alone that went off the tracks. Well, that's, again, the first step to redemption is admitting you were wrong and admitting your mistakes. So, and that is a great quality to have, not blaming the referee for an early stoppage, blaming an injury or an illness or your camp or whatever, or your trainer, whatever it might be. I think Deontay Wilder can take a good hard look at this, and Francis Ngannou, and cop a loss with some grace. I think you get a lot more respect from the fans when you just admit that you were beaten on the night by a better fighter, and you go back to the drawing board and you go again. If I can get an interview with him on my channel, I think I can show him a thing or two. Well, mate, all you can do is ask. Send him a message on social media. I'm sure he'll get back to you, or Benny Harrington will. So, mate, ask him. So I'm sure they have a few interviews to do. He's probably already done some back home by this stage. I'm probably thinking, has he, with some of the social media guys. So, look, guys, we'll go for another few minutes and we'll call it a night. I've got to get organised for tomorrow, and I'm sure you guys have got to have Easter dinner or whatever. What is it over there? Saturday. So it's Easter. As I said, it was really bizarre here that Easter, I haven't seen one thing about Easter since I've been here. I haven't seen any decorations. I've seen no Easter eggs. Certainly haven't seen any hot cross buns or anything around. It's like Easter hasn't even happened, which is surprising considering that they celebrate everything over here, don't they? They come over here for things like Halloween or Thanksgiving or Valentine's Day or something, and it's just a sea of shit, and we get to Easter and there's literally nothing. So is this the new America we're seeing? I don't know. I'm not getting the political stuff, but anyway. All right, guys. Well, there's no more questions coming through, so I'm going to call it a night. Really appreciate you guys joining me today. Hope you enjoyed the fights today. We go again tomorrow. So again, if I get a chance, I'll go live. We'll see how we go, but definitely after the fights tomorrow night, or whatever time it is in Australia, we'll go live within sort of an hour or so after the main event ends, and everyone can have their say about what they thought of the action. So thanks again for joining in, and look forward to chatting to you all tomorrow. Let's go.